Hey, welcome back to another installment of Shop Talk Tuesday from Anoa Guy Bicycles. Hi, I'm Justin from Anoa Guy Bicycles, and if it's Tuesday in your neck of the woods, hey, thank you for hanging out with me. And guess what? Got some stuff to work on. Super busy for January, which is the off season for me here in Colorado, where it is nuts how many repairs I am working on currently and how the industry trend is going that direction in the last 12 months or so. Really a lot of shops are doubling down on service because that's where majority of the business is right now. It's not so much in the high end in my neck of the woods. It's oversaturation in stores that have a lot of high ends as well as corporate stores, and they're sitting on product. And the only other product that is kind of moving still a little bit is the e-bike, but other than that, it's really about service and used. So we're going to dive into today's topic of why am I so busy and why a lot of shops are busier in off season this year than years before. And if you're not, got to ask yourself some questions. Why is it not that busy for you? It could be just your economical environment. It could be your location. Maybe your area just really shuts down in off season. Luckily here for Colorado, we do have nice days to ride, that kind of thing. But in any case, we're going to dive into a lot of that here. Going to let a few people dive in and join us here for our actual moments of Shop Talk Tuesday. So without further ado, let's talk about one of our first sponsors.
Bicycle Wheel Warehouse in California has an excellent selection of wheels to choose from. They're pre-built, or also you can have them custom built up to various sizes. You can reach out to them directly if you have something unique like the 650 wheel or a different style hub. Therefore, it makes it an excellent bike wheel set company that actually provides good wheel sets without breaking the bank. You will find them being very trusted and shrewd. They really hold up under a lot of different riding conditions and so forth. It takes the standard old school wheel building practices and puts them in a better format. But in any case, this is a wheel set you'll be really love to have. It'll perform for you for a long period of time, and the quality and the attention to detail is superb. You'll find information about this company in the description below, with also my personal coupon code. I hope you find a good wheel set where it works for you.
So yeah, wheel sets. This is a great time if off season for you, a great time to look at wheel sets as maybe another set for a road or gravel or what have you. That's a great place to go. I do have a 25% currently starting this month, 20% off of their wheels. So coupon code below. If you have a 20% coupon code, it'll still run as a 25. Any case, need some wheels? Give them a try. Check them out. If you need some help, let me know. Reach out and it's like, hey, I'm looking for this. Maybe I can give you a couple options from them and they can take it from there. In any case, thanks for hanging out with me. We've got some people joining us, and winter is a lie. Well, for us, it's been kind of a lie because we've had the warmest December and pretty warm January. So, case in point, last Wednesday I went for a beautiful ride. It's in the 50s into the 60-degree Fahrenheit here, but winter came back. This morning was a balming 19 degrees Fahrenheit start, but it's supposed to get into the 40s. So luckily in my environment, you can ride in the wintertime. You do have pops of days here and there between storms that everything will burn off and your paths and roads will be clear enough to ride. Not trail riding though, not for like mountain bike and front range riding because that gets really muddy. But if you want to put rubber to pavement, you got some opportunities here to do so. That is not the case everywhere else. But our other problem here, which is kind of changing, is within the industry in the 90s, we would basically lose all our business once it snowed the first time in the season. Well, it doesn't snow much later in the season now, which is one thing, so our seasons have been elongated. Second, snow conditions have not been the greatest in the mountains for skiing and snowboarding and so forth, and it's also really busy and very expensive. So that's turned off a lot of people from going locally. So therefore, it's kind of boosted the local riding scene for off-season riding. So in any case, it's kind of cool. So hey, give me a shout out if you're watching. tell me where you're watching from, and if you're in a shop or just an avid cyclist who likes to watch a guy in a garage do his thing. Yes, I will be working through this episode because I'm busy. I just can't, oddly enough, I just can't sit down and just jibber jabber because I'm going to have to get my hands busy because I got repairs that are on the books, and we just gone through, in the States here, we just gone through a holiday weekend. So our family, daughter was with us the whole time, and therefore yesterday went to the library, took her swimming, things like that, indoors of course, and we did a lot of bowling. So like a lot of activity weekend. Some friends came up from Denver, they had a hockey tournament, so it's like all sorts of things of a longer weekend. I'm really kind of glad she's back in school and I'm back in the garage doing my thing, right? So any case, here we are. All right. Ooh, we got some people jumping in. Levi, thank you for chiming in again. Great Lakes, yes. Are going, all your weather is year. I'm sorry. The Great Lakes are getting all your weather this year. Yes, I've seen that, and I'm sorry. We lived in Ypsilanti for a couple of years. That's by Ann Arbor, Michigan, and yeah, your winters suck. I mean, the snow just keeps piling up, and here we're Coloradoans, so our conditions here, it snows and it melts off, and you go run around, but there it was like an inch or two here and there, just constant, but. Hopefully you get some riding indoor or fat bike. Fat bikes are really huge in those neck of the woods for sure. Robert, thank you for joining in. From Fort Smith, Arkansas. A little warmer in your neck of the woods. It's actually your season of cycling. So for you're probably getting out and doing some riding or working on bikes, all those good things. Bill from Vital Bike Chains. Hey, going to be talking to you real soon. Plan out some things, but yeah, I've been busy working on tune-ups and all that kinds of things, but we'll see what we can get going for you for wax chains. Vital Bike Chains is a great way or a great source if you want to get into wax chains without doing it yourself or the mess, and then if you want to do a higher performance chain, I have a little promo, I'll show that a little bit later, of the different grades of wax chains you can go. You can do like performance chip or endurance chip. You can get really lost in the weeds, but he really makes it more clear as mud and actually cuts out the mess. And therefore, for maintaining that chain or chains, it's a lot easier for the general consumer. And it's really highly recommended to go that route or some route to get that chain and your drivetrain to work at its highest level performance. Anyways, there's your plug, Bill. Anyways, thank you for joining, chatting in, jumping in. Scott, winter. It snowed yesterday. I didn't have to shovel. Those in Michigan are going to hate me, or the Great Lakes area are going to hate me because we have a south direction driveway, and the sun came out, and by noon, it was gone. 2 inches of snow or inch, whatever we got, it was burned off. Neighbors across the street, though, they have some issues. Still working on it. Yeah, Scott, I'm enjoying the late fall, spring time of ride. I mean, it's one of those things. It's actually kind of nice. It's been a joy to have a season that's been elongated, and even though we had one of the warmest Decembers, and January has been pretty good so far. So, therefore, service, people are thinking about bikes, but that's just not the reason why I'm busy for service department, that kind of thing. And we'll talk about that. But I want to give you a little insights. I have a new tripod gimbal, so if you notice me moving around and it's following me, so hopefully it's not too jerky. The base on it is not, it sways, so if you get a little seasick, let me know. Most of you are just listening anyway, most of the time. The solution for me was just pull out a feedback repair stand and clamp the gimbal to that because that won't sway. Any case, or do the backside of this stand here. But look at what do we got here? What is this thing? You can't see it in the vertical. Maybe we're gonna put it this way. Yeah, there we go. What do we got here? It's a Pinarello. Ooh, I get a few high-end bikes in here periodically. We got a couple customers that's all they ride. And it's really nice to work on something like this. It's a Di2 Ultegra componentry from Shimano. Has a full carbon frame, Pinarello, Dogma, the ones similar to the ones you've seen on the Tour de France. Has custom built wheels from Sugar Wheels in Portland, Oregon, which they do a lot of high-end stuff. What was it? They were White Industry hubs, that's right. And White Industry hubs with Belgium. I'm not sure if I don't think they're carbon wheels, but they were hand built for this individual. Also, he has one of those cranks, if you can't see it, that is one of those power meter carbon cranks, fancy. I don't want to even guess what this bike was retail, but what I've seen on news, it's still the 4,000 to 5,000, which is kind of nuts. But in any case, we're doing a full tune-up on this. Going to clean the frame, detail it, put some ceramic coating on it, clean all the parts, double check everything, get it ready for a fresh ride, double check the chain, see if it needs to be replaced. If not, we're going to wax it, that kind of thing. So that's the all kind of upper level tune-up that's going to go on this guy, and maybe some new bar tape. But in any case, this is going to be a fun project. Today is my Monday because we had a holiday yesterday. So what fun is it to jump into something really nice like this right out of the gate? Hopefully there's nothing too scary. I highly doubt it. This guy, he rides a lot, but it's not a hard rider, if you know what I mean. He doesn't like grind the gears or jam stuff. He just, is a recreational rider, loves nice stuff. So, hey, gotta love that, right? In any case. Alrighty, so we'll need to do a little flip, take a little ride to the backside. Woo. Hope everybody's doing really good for a Tuesday in January. I have been successful so far doing my challenge, my personal challenge. I turned 55 this year. And I decided to do 55 days of straight workouts. Unfortunately, it's not warm enough to do a whole bunch of cycling workouts, but we've been, as a family even, my daughter's been getting into it too. Got to do these lights so they'll be a little bit better for all of us. In any case, and maybe, there we go. Trying this new gimbal out. So hopefully everybody can hear me okay, see me okay, everything's okay. Hopefully it tracks me okay over here. It's one of those, new technology. And I figure if it's a little bit further out, might be a little bit better since it's tracking. In any case, yeah, so I've wanted to divulge, talk about a couple podcasts I listened to yesterday from NBDA, National Bike Dealer Association. I joined them this year, or actually it was technically last year, going to one of their conferences in Las Vegas for a couple days to, sniff out their stuff, what they are providing, helping independent bike shops flourish and clinics and all that kinds of stuff. I mean, it's, for an average rider, you're like, oh, that's whole boring back-end stuff, but that is very essential for a lot of us to make our businesses work. Reason being is, unfortunately, we didn't have anything like that in the 90s. Because we could have used it quite a bit. A lot of shops could have used a lot of community help from other shops, bigger shops, smaller shops, better experience and all that. We could have used it, definitely. My dad had definitely help there with local shops, and then you're relying on your vendors, which they do help to some level, but quite honestly, they're out for themselves. That's what it is. They're not for profit business, so they're gonna always tell you the Kool-Aid that is going to benefit them more so than anybody else. So there you go. So listen to those podcasts, and why are a lot of shops, not all, are busy? Why some are finding success in the off season right now with service versus some that are not successful or as successful in the service componentry of it. And we're in a scenario this last year, which was starting the year before, where high-end bike sales were dropping. They're done. Reason being is they had too much inventory. The short story is they didn't have enough inventory during COVID, sold through, ordered too much, had too much, discounted everything, especially the high-end stuff. Anybody that was going to buy a $10,000 bike or more bought one, and nobody's going to buy another $10,000 bike within the next year. So we're in that downturn point where bike brands are looking for anything new to release to get somebody jazzed enough to buy a new bike, and that has basically plummeted a lot of high-end bike sales. Not to say they're not all dead, but they definitely have slowed. And that has put the bike manufacturers on their heels for the most part, because all they want to do is sell high-end stuff. And they are now forced to listen to the bike shops and the communities, and they are no longer forcing the narrative. So that's put a lot of bike shops looking for other sources of income. Oh, come on, there's got to be a quick link in here somewhere. And that source of income, and they've been noticing, has been coming in their door with somebody already with a bike in their hand, needing service. And that being said, service has really been a double down this last year and a half. So if you were doing your due diligence and saw in the tea leaves that we needed to do a lot more focus on service departments, that kind of thing. Oh, there I am. You did, well, basically, if you had the historical numbers and experiences within your shop of knowing what it was like in the 90s, where it was really a lot of service heavy, early 2000s service heavy market, that you know what you need to do in your particular market, that kind of thing. The newer shops are kind of left to the wolves, but the National Dealers Bicycle Dealer Association, NBDA, has really been helping with the narrative and insights of strengthening your service department. And they're like, the next show is going to be strictly service, e-bikes, and used, and how to leverage your brands. Watching GC Performance this morning on his video that just dropped, which is very, very encouraging to watch, because he actually does talk about his brands and how they are a lot easier to deal with now, because they are now relying on independent bike dealers more than they've had before in the past, because they were forcing a narrative. In other words, he used the example as a dealer agreement with a big brand would be 500,000, and the next year they want to see a 10% so growth. So they would want you to buy more bikes, clothing, in all their categories, and so forth. So this got really out of control when COVID hit, and now they're on their back heels. They'll just be happy to sell anything to anyone, as well as they're gone direct to consumer. On top of, they own their own bike stores as well, which they're closing quite a few down. So there's a hot mess going on there, where how you may want to look at it, it's kind of, they did it to themselves to some level for sure. But what the bike shops have been seeing, and a lot of them, is a lot more service. And even though GC Performance wasn't saying his service has actually dropped, it could be different in different markets for sure. But you got to question yourself a little bit. Why is that? Well, his perspective is there's a lot more smaller mobile shops popped up in his neck of the woods, and he's having a hard time competing against that. Well, one of the talks yesterday was about switching your service department to 48-hour turnaround. Okay, Trek's been doing this in the last 2 years, and it is kind of Trek driven, because their POS system is designed to do or has been altered to do such a thing. But looking at that 48-hour service, there's a right way of doing it, a very positive for yourself as a shop owner, positive for your cycling community, for sure. There's also a negative down part of that. The negative down part I'll get to in a minute, but listening to their hour little song and dance of how they've been doing it, and they shifted their multiple locations. This is a store that's divulging their 48-hour secrets, and how they were very successful of converting it over. It took a village to get there. It's not something that's super easy to do. It's something that's really hard to do right. To do something and just to do it doesn't mean you're going to be successful at it. You got to really look at all the details and plug into it. And when you're looking as a consumer, if you're watching this as being a bike mechanic or a bike person and needing your bike worked on and saying, yeah, we have a 48-hour turnaround, you got to question how well that service is. And there's a lot of aspects of that, of how they're able to do that without compromising quality and customer experience. In other words, making sure that the repairs are done right, not very many returns, having the right staff doing the right things at the right time, and making sure that environment for the staff is not aggressive. In other words, not a lot of pressure. I mean, obviously there's going to be some pressure because of work loads and so forth and seasonality of it. But listening to them, I was very skeptical at first. But after listening, how they were taking all those perspectives and allowing adjustments to happen was huge, to the fact that it put them in a situation where they can be the most positive outcome on a very much wished for demand without destroying their customer quality, customer base, that kind of thing. They have actually able to compete against all the little shops and mobile shops and competition because of this 48-hour turnaround. And 48-hour turnaround is not for every shop. Let's just say that. It's not for my shop. I'm not built to do that. I have done it before. And quite honestly, people, I got Lee Cycler to do 48-hour turnaround time in the early 2000s. So I really had some insights, and I was really kind of curious of what is new that would make the job back then a lot easier. Well, it's a lot of graphs, it's a lot of numbers, it's a lot of knowing your staff and their performance ability, and you got to equate a number to that. And I did that in the early 2000s, and I was like, okay, how long does it take to, how many units, and how many long for each mechanic to get a baseline, what the turnaround is, and doing all the numbers, right? But boy, they did not warmly, they thought I was like seeing their, like I had some magic sauce and like performance review kind of thing. I was just trying to figure out a baseline, and they were like very aggressive against that. So it took a little while to convince them that it turned out to be a good thing, and able to, making sure we have the right staff for the right amount of volume and that kind of thing. If you have a shop that's had several years of service retail, you'll have enough data to work off of to kind of give that a go. Unfortunately, if you don't have that data, like how many units you've worked on per season and what time of year and that kind of thing, it can get pretty tricky. So it's not for every shop. I would say it is definitely not for corporate stores. There's too much of a disconnect from the bike mechanic to what it's too, how do I say this without being insulting? From a bike mechanic to the store manager, to the district supervisor, to the regional supervisor, to the person that actually makes all the decisions. There's too many hoops, and when you have multiple locations, it's too many. They're wanting a cookie cutter solution, which does not work at all in bike retail, because each store could be a mile or two away from each other, will have a different, could have a different customer base dynamics. So that being said, it makes it really difficult. So if you were a location like this shop I had, I don't know how many locations they had, but they had several. So if you had like 3 or 4 locations, you can be more micro adjustments if need be during the height and the season, and changing each to year to get that 48 hours turnaround to perform well, if not excellent, for your customer base and your shop and everything. Now, the guy who was giving the presentation, he was not the bike mechanic. He was one of the leads and did all the numbers and everything and saw the pain point of all of it. He'd openly admitted he doesn't work on bikes, does not know how to work on bikes, but he's a good team lead on that. And he definitely listened and rely upon his team leaders from each shop to give him a pulse of how everything's going and making adjustments and so forth. So it's very interesting, that being said. But, you know, what it really comes down to is cultivating your customer base. And I've been, doing this for 5 years independently, been cultivating customers over that period of time. And Scott is one in the chat here. I need to add that so everybody can see it from both. Oh, there you go, just reminded me. There you go. That if you do right and you continually do your best, your repeat customers will increase. Regardless that a shop down the street might have a faster turnaround, regardless if they may be cheaper, because within service, if you do it right, they're going to develop develop a relationship with those customers, as i.e. me, the mechanic, shop owner, has. There's no disconnect. If they walk into the local corporate store, they're seeing a different person every time. Sometimes they're not giving that feeling where they're going to be taken care of, and those kinds of things. So it's easier for a shop like me that's appointment-based only, which is similar to mobile, can cultivate a very strong community, not just customers, that will keep me really busy, i.e. right now in the wintertime, off season. And since it's spaced out smoothly through the main season, I don't get stressed out with the volume repairs as a 24-hour service does. This particular shop does like $1 million, 5,000 repair units a year, which is bumping up into their close to 10% of their sales comparison to their sales on bike stuff, which is huge because usually service departments are pretty smaller. But in any case, there's a lot of change in that. So yeah, it's a lot of service. And it's a lot of service to be had. Reason being is people are not buying new. They're dragging out their older bikes and like, okay, I'm just going to refresh this for another year or two. Because, our economical state of the state here is rough. Just to make it easily understandable. It's tough here. Even if you're not in a hurting situation, it's still tough. So it's a Shimano, I'm looking at 0.5. Let me look at a different tool. You're either worried about your job, or the cost of food is increased way too much for you. The price of eggs or what have you, or just nervous in general. And that doesn't seem like it's going to go away anytime soon. So when you're looking at that the nervousness in the market, especially for, unfortunately I have to say it, it's technically a toy class. I mean, some people look at it as a mode of transportation. Europeans look at it as a transportation class, bicycles. Here in the States, they still think about it like toys, like the Schwinn of the 50s. It's, the Stingray or whatever. But we all know it's much, much more than that. But it's hard to, the powers that be still think of it that. So there's not funding for structure and all that kind of stuff. That's all going to be paused for a while until they get all figured out. Needless to say, a lot of people are going to be looking at their bikes being tuned up in the near future, if not more. Either going to get rid of the car to go with a bike for transportation, for off-season or in-season transportation for a while versus riding the bus. There's a lot of changes a lot of people are faced with right now. And bicycles is usually an influx of increasing of that. And so service is going to be huge, because you're going to be doing a lot of general tune-ups, minor repairs on the older stuff. And then you got the whole e-bike realm, and they're going to need servicing, and so forth. So that was another insight of this this particular webinar I listened to, because they were saying, if you're a bike shop working on bikes, you just can't work on, especially if you're just doing some e-bikes, but not all. There's such a huge liability on some of the e-bikes right now that legality-wise, they can't touch them. They shouldn't touch them. Once they touch the bike or try to do repair, even though if it's not related to the motor or the battery, there's a huge risk concern of liability. So unfortunately, when you come to a shop like mine, I'm basically not insured for e-bikes. In other words, my insurance doesn't cover me working on them, doesn't cover me storing them, doesn't cover me doing a lot of, I do have a couple really good customers that do have e-bikes, and I'll take care of them as quick as possible and get them out the door, that kind of thing. But the learning here is once you touch it as a mechanic perspective, you own the liability of it. That's a scary thought as a mechanic. I mean, I don't mind working on stuff, but there's a whole new level of risk here, especially as a small business, that you got to make sure that you're covered. So yeah, I don't advertise I work on e-bikes. There's luckily enough, Josh from Precision E-Bike, which is in Fort Collins, Colorado. That's all he does is e-bikes. So I will I'm super happy to hand the baton to him to do that, which is translated to what has changed in our market quite a bit, which GC Performance was talking about, a lot of pop-up, smaller mechanic shops and so forth. He can compete against the service. They just don't see the clarity of it yet. Maybe the advertising the 48-hour turnaround. But then again, it doesn't talk like he has the staff for it too. You got to have people when you do something like that, a lot of them. And you got to have enough money coming in the door to support that staff, because you got to have good people doing the right things at the right time. And that was one of the points that they had. They had several mechanics. He referenced the old timer, which I perked up because I'm now the old timer. I mean, I worked in shops for so many years, and now I'm the guy that's the old crusty butt dude that only wants to work on certain things. And he actually glorified him in a sense, like, he's great. He doesn't want to work on DI2. He doesn't want to work on hydraulic brakes. I got people to do that. They want to learn how to do that and work on that, and they're really well and proficient at it. But he's a golden asset to their team because he can take apart a 7-speed freewheel or work on U-brakes or work on anything that's older, still capitalize on their turnaround of 48 hours or less, and able to get that bike running smoothly, fast, without a whole bunch of relearning. Because quite honestly, a lot of you that's watching this channel probably have older bikes. If you're not owning the shop yourself, if you're an avid rider, you probably watch my stuff and go, oh, I'm in the older 5200 Trek or the old Roubaix or whatever the case may be, older bikes where I lived it. I lived it when it's new. I lived it when it's high volume repairs. I've seen a lot of the issues that broke down or what they are or have you. So you give me an old bike in front of me, the chances for me to fix that, it's huge. And then you're actually providing a better service, quality, hardly any returns on service work right at the first time out of the gate. And there's no, yeah, like he was saying, this guy has no repair, no repairs that come back for what he's worked on. So it's huge. So when you're looking at doing 48 hours, you have to have a staff that's deep. In the store I was in, I had 4 or 5 full-time mechanics year-round that have been working in the industry for 3 to 5 years. And we were able to pull it off, but it was tough. The volume was really, really hard to do. Nowadays, the volume may not be as much as it was back then for some reason. It was like nobody, well, granted, there was no YouTube. Nobody was learning how to work on their own bikes back then. They didn't have easy access to look at a 3-minute video and go, oh, that's how you fix that hydraulic line or whatever. They're all were faced to going to the bike shop. So service has been eroded from bike shops because of YouTube, but also can be enhanced by YouTube. Because I'm telling you right now, majority of my service going in 2026 is driven by people that have watched me on YouTube. Case in point, I'm looking at a stack of bikes right behind the camera. These are all people that saw me on YouTube and they decided to drive however far they had to drive to have me work on their bikes. So it can flip the narrative. You can show them how to do it and they go, oh crap, I'm not going to do that. Now I understand the complicity of it. I'm going to give it to this guy that knows what the hell he's doing. Because if I take it to my local shop, not knowing what shop it is, but they may not have the experience or the patience, or maybe just don't get a good vibe from them. That's a big thing too. So you got to keep an eye on all of that good stuff as well. So I'm going to clean that chain and wax it. It still has some life on it. So, they can probably get another season out of it. This person has multiple bikes, so it should be good. Oh, this is made in Italy. Fancy little made in Italy tag. That's cool. I've usually seen Taiwan or China, mostly Taiwan, or Cambodia, or Vietnam on the newer stuff. That's a crazy new world out there, isn't it? So DI2, electronic shifters and derailleurs, do not put them in ultrasonic cleaners. The only thing I can ultrasonic clean on this one is the cassette and the chain. And even the crankset is a power meter, so if the chain rings can't get cleaned off enough, I'm going to have to take the chain rings off of the crankset because I don't feel comfortable submerging that in ultrasonic cleaner. Last thing I want to do is destroy a whole bunch of electronics with a high intense ultrasonic cleaning with a heated bath. I mean, it sounds beautiful. Could use a spa day myself. But in any case, we're getting pretty close to clean, clean the brakes with rubbing alcohol. So yeah, service. Service is going to be huge for 2026. I talked about used bikes. They're going to be huge for used bikes, parts, everything is going to be huge for 2026. Reason being is that big old T word is causing all the new products to cause them to have a price increase regardless if they've been affected by it yet or not. But it's changed. It's now changed forever. And when the prices go up, they don't go down in the cycling industry for the most part. Not like it does with eggs and milk. Once that price gets capped to a new level, they don't go back down. So that being said, your Continental new tires are going to be more expensive. The chains are going to be more expensive. The cables and housing are going to have a price increase, and they're going to stay there. I mean, they'll go on sale when they have too much of it, but right now, a lot of stuff they still don't have too much of, in any case. Hey, Mike, thank you for joining in. Yeah, you got people that work on e-bikes if you need the money. Yeah, Mike has a good point there. Yeah, our economy is a mess. In some areas, it's even more of a mess. There is some people still buying some $5,000 bikes, but the percentage of that in those markets have shrunk quite significantly. And they're not having the traffic coming in the store, but the people that are going in the store are the ones that are still buying. Yeah, but the percentages drop. And therefore, they're not bringing that much inventory into the States into 26. So you're going to see this weirdness go on. Yeah, for example, like Trek just released that Checkout, which is their new full suspension. They didn't break very many of those units in the United States. I don't think they had very many of them built. They probably have more availability in different markets, like the European market, Australia, whatever. Then probably more units there than they brought in the United States. They probably brought in enough to fill their stores like onesie or twosies for the locations. And if you're an independent bike dealer, you maybe got lucky to have one because it's like the new factor. You got to have something new to get somebody excited. And that, you know, some people are just waiting for that new fun thing to buy. The ones that are recession resistant, retired, whatever, they're the ones that are buying those. But as a volume, there's no volume there. They're just hoping to capitalize on some sales for people coming in the store, checking out that bike, and then maybe buying a tube or something, or see something else they may want to buy, or whatever. But that being said, it's some craziness going on. But you know, I think. Well, you know, talking about used again for a little bit, the used bike industry in the United States is going to be one of the probably the larger gains because the prices on used in general have dropped. Those bikes that I've been seeing in my market, the titaniums and the carbons sit. They haven't been going anywhere, and the prices go down. I've been buying a majority of my used bikes, not like these, but you know, the lower end ones, or the older ones, I wouldn't say lower end, the older ones are around 150. Like, and I'm just waiting. I have enough in my back stock to keep me busy because I float it with service too. So, you know, I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units that I'm still haven't touched yet. And you know, I don't crank through. I'm not a volume dude anymore, so that'll take me. That has, you know, some time. And I've already actually bought a couple that I'm waiting to go pick up, make a trip, and they're willing to wait for me to come down to their neck of the woods in a week or two to pick it up later. I'll just pay them in Venmo, like, hey, I'll be down there in a week or two. I'm going to pay for it now, pick it up. The price is so good. I mean, you know, put it this way: it's no risk to me because, you know, I vet them. You know, original owner, all that stuff, and you know, sometimes Facebook Marketplace is a little bit easier because you get a person with an account. I would probably want to do as much with Craigslist, but with, you know, Facebook, definitely. And then I go, yeah, I'll give you, you know, X amount for that. I'll pick it up in a week or two. They're fine. Okay, cool. I got the money. That's fine. And the thing is I know just looking at the parts mix, even if half the stuff is broken on it, I still can at least get my money back out of it. That's how crazy the market is right now. For used, and the ability of leveraging that. Well, will I be able to sell that bike for a double? Maybe, depending if there's a demand for that one still. But 9 times out of 10 right now, it's mostly the parts and the frame. And as a business model, if you break it down on the parts and the frame, the likelihood of you getting your cash flow back out, not profit, but your cash flow back out of it, is pretty significantly high within a shorter period of time. So that's all good news in the used. So you can get a lot of inventory, sell locally, Facebook, Marketplace, Craigslist, eBay, my website is the main 4. And eventually you'll sell those parts and sell the frames, and once it sells through completely, you're definitely making over 50 to 60% margin. That's huge. If I was a normal traditional brick and mortar store, which I'm not, I'm a guy in the garage, everything's appointment based, really boutique-ish if you want to look at it that way. It's, if I was a brick and mortar, I would be looking for particular models of bikes that would fit alongside my new brands for a great value for somebody that's just getting into riding, or they just don't have the budget for that $3,000 bike, but hey, I got a $800 special full carbon Ultegra componentry bike that'll work for you. And guess what? That margin on that used bike, full of complete, is still going to be way higher, way higher than your new bike, where you probably paid a certain amount of money on loan-ish. Basically, you've been invoiced, and your dating is going to be in probably April, May, June right now, and you're going to be hoping to God you make enough money with selling those units that are going to pay for that, start paying those invoices off. Or then you're going to have to kick those invoices down the road and say, hey, we need to push those invoices further down, and then they start charging interest depending on the volume. That game is the same because the bike brands, Trek, Specialized, Giant, they all need that commitment. Basically, it's money in the bank for them when they go to their lenders. So, it's all about borrowing money. And it all depends how big a credit line you have and what kind of terms they're going to give you to support that. So, even on their own stores, like Trek and Specialized and Pond, it's all about money, lending, and so forth, but they're going to want to make interest off of that and see a return. So they just don't give out money for free, even though they like to make you think so. Yeah, those hubs are smooth. In any case, that's what we're looking at. So for service-wise, I'm doing great. I mean, pretty darn good, considering it's January, and I don't do high volume. But if I was trying to fill in my work orders about 5 to 6 units a day, that might be a little tough. But as it sits now, not too bad. So I'm going to wash these wheels. Hopefully the Grimmel doesn't make you guys too seasick. Oh, does it see me? Did it lose me? It lost me. Hi, there you are. Okay. Technology. Got it for my birthday, so, got to try it out. That kind of thing. I mean, shout out. Let me know in the chat, like, what you've seen in your neck of the woods. Have you been in your bike shops lately? Or if your shop right now is revisiting all the options or opportunities for the next season, what we need to be focusing on, we can discuss and, kind of get an idea. Not everything is going to fit everybody's mold and market, of course, but it's going to, other insights here are going to help out, see if there's a demand or a better way of doing things. All of us are always looking for a better way of doing things, even though we're grumpy and stuck in the mud. Because if you show us, if it makes it easier that I have more time to myself to go ride my bike and spend time with my family, I'm going to do it. Because honestly, I'm not making millions doing this, so whatever it makes me have an extra hour or 2 or 3 a week to have more me time, I'm definitely, and still maintain that same income, it's definitely going to be looked into and asked upon, that kind of thing. So I mentioned how YouTube has taken away a lot of business. A lot of you shop owners can, with a very low lift of time and expertise, especially with the AI now, can really leverage the same thing that's actually taking away a lot of your service. That is YouTube itself and various others. BL Bicycles in Pullman, Washington State. He has a Instagram channel, and he has over 40,000 followers. And he just makes 3 minutes or less little videos of what he's working in his stand. And I'm sure he gets a big enough audience that people will drive from Seattle and around the area to have him work on his bike or their bikes, that kind of thing. So case in point, same here. My content is driven. Started driving business 2 years ago, but people driving 3 years ago. South, an hour and a half either direction to have me work on their stuff. I even have people that are in town for a short period of time, and they're like, "Oh, I'm in town riding my bike. I want to have you do a tune-up on it." Say, "Okay, we'll do an appointment on it and get it back to you a couple days, depending how long they have to stay here." But that's huge, and I didn't have to pay a ton of money. Get my gimbal to come back. I didn't have to pay a ton of money to get those people to come to my shop. Okay, there we are. Oh, we see me now. All right, that kind of thing. So yeah, let me know in the chat. Hopefully you can still hear me and see me. I haven't really focused in too close on the technicality because I'm working on stuff. Again, this is a bike mechanic doing YouTube. All those good things, right? But yeah, give me a shout out of what you're doing and what you're seeing in your neck of the woods, even if it's in another country. Oh, I didn't see that. Torsen, 1977, from Sweden. I don't think that's on our radar, China acquisition as a country, so I think you're safe. Bad joke, sorry. When I was in high school, we had some Norwegian and Sweden exchange students, which I became friends with a couple of them. And super cool, very cool place to live. The insights of your where you live at is just awesome. And also follow some people on Instagram from the European, just influencers or whatever, and just seeing what they ride. It's just amazing places to go. It's just beautiful, beautiful riding. Absolutely beautiful up there. For sure. Who else am I missing here? Oh, Robert pumps in. It's like 24-hour turnaround. It takes longer than that to just replace some of the housing on some of the bikes. Yeah, absolutely. So the 24-hour, you have to have a team. In their scenario with the bike shop that explained it, they have multiple locations. So if one location is not as busy, they can pull mechanics from another to help for the flow of it. And their main focus is in season, is only doing service. They try to get all their bikes at the beginning of the season, like now, to have those built, like thousands of bikes. And they have apparently the space and the time to do thousands of bikes in a warehouse. So they're ready to go, pre-built or ready to go, to be either thrown on the bike, assembled real quick, like a wheel and bar, just double checked, or they're already assembled on hooks. We used to do that at Lee's a little bit because we had a big basement, but not necessarily the full volume. The only caveat or problem with that would be is if you have a shift within the market of that season, all of a sudden you sell out of one and you need to get more bikes of that particular model, that price point, or what have you. It's going to be hard pressed to do that. We used to have a huge sales during back to school because we had one location across the street from CSU College, and we would have to build hundreds and hundreds of bikes at the end of August, at the end of July, to be ready at the beginning of August for these big sales. And the owner of the shop, he wouldn't leverage the brands until beginning of July. It's like, oh, we're going to buy a whole bunch of bikes. Is it going to be you or is it going to be you? And we have to buy them. And you always wait till then. And then, it's kind of like leftovers of the season or the brand new of the next model season bikes that just hit the warehouses. With like, oh, all of a sudden you have, 1,000 bikes hit your door and you're like, crap, we got to get these all built. And back then it was a little bit harder to build them than they are today on some of the newer ones. But needless to say, they still had to be touched and gone through. We would have build parties and Quite honestly, I don't think the quality of bills on those were that great. But then again, the college kids probably never wrote them, or they got stolen before they even got a chance to write them. So it's it was a weird time. Not saying it was good, not saying I did the right thing, not saying that the right shops did the right thing, but that's what it was. Just weird, just downright weird and bizarre. But in any case, yeah, that's where we're at on all that good stuff. But I do need to, since Bill's on here, I did mention I should show and tell of what he does for his business of pre-waxing brand new chains. Her popular chain process or waxing of Vital Bike Chains provides brand names like Shimano, SRAM, and various others to be cleaned in a high detailed 5-step process and then waxed to your professional level with either speed chip or endurance chip, which has been proven to have better performance and better lasting events and recreational riding. Takes care of the messy process, and all you have is the clean wax chain ready to perform. Check them out. Discount code with a link below. So the latest rage of wax chains, I mean, majority of my customers are not doing it for performance. It's just the sheer cleanliness of it, that they don't have to worry about grease getting everywhere. But there is a performance factor, which is really nice if you're looking at getting some wattage. Granted, this one has a wattage meter in the crankset. There are people that are really into that and want that. But for most of the 90% of us that just ride bikes, I'm telling you, having it on my bikes for the last 3 years, definitely been a game changer. Is clean, shifts smoother, it's quieter. Maybe good for you in your neck of the woods, that kind of thing. There's there's pros and cons to everything, and maybe you just prefer. But at the end of the day, though, anything that's a new chain, you want to clean that packing grease off. Make sure it is relieved from that, because when you use any performance lube after that, you want it to have it on a completely clean chain. That's the kind of like the industry dirty secret is, you get a bike, buy it at the bike shop, salesperson sells you a bottle of lube. You just proceed to not have the knowledge that you need to put the lube or clean that chain beforehand. So all you're doing is putting that lube on a packing grease, which is whatever the $80 bottle of lube that you were sold to be like super cool, latest grease, drip lube, Teflon, whatever Kool-Aid it is, it's not going to perform at all when it has a manufacturing grease on there. So all it's going to do is cake up, and then you're going to be bringing it back to the bike shop and going, this didn't do so well. That's even you notice, and you get it cleaned and whatever. But it's not like a service that they're going to openly. Maybe they do nowadays. Like, oh, it's a new bike, you want that chain stripped? I don't think they're going to. Maybe that's a new service that you provide. Maybe it's like, got a new bike? Okay, cool. We need to strip that chain from the manufacturer grease. And if you buy a bottle of lube, we'll strip it. But then it becomes another labor intensive, and you're giving away labor, which right now, bike shops do not need to do. The volume's going to be there. It's almost in most markets, the volume is going to be there to a point where you're not going to need to give away labor. As a matter of fact, labor in the States are going up. If they haven't already increased the labor rates, they're going to. Because cost of living's gone up. I mean, you work another year and make less money than the year before that and work harder. I mean, I'm going to go out of business. So bottom line is things are just going to go up, and that includes labor charge. And mine already has gone up. Incrementally, of course. I didn't want to, freak everybody out, but it did go up. And if this continues, as the cost of living going up, it's going to follow the trend on that. Bike shops have always kind of been reserved of raising their rates because it's, for a typical bike shop, the service department is like 6% of their all general sales. They don't want to deter somebody for a higher rate of service, but that customer is going to come in and buy a bike. Well, they're not going to buy a bike right now. So the services have gone up and the lead times have gone out, and the cost of retaining and maintaining those very skilled technical, these are not toys anymore. There's a high level technical machines, and you got to be trained for them. And if they're not trained, you're going to have like some, non-experienced mechanic messing up your $5,000, $10,000 bike. Can't do that. So prices of labor going to go up. You may still have the discounted shop tune-up, but what you're going to see on the flip side is going to be more of a general tune-up and a lot of a la carte. So there's going to be a basic tune, period, because they got to make it keep it simple, stupid on their charts, because a tune-up on a road bike, on a bike with Di2, a gravel bike, a mountain bike, a hybrid, a kid's bike, are all different bikes, and they're all going to be different tunes, and they all have different time variations. So what they're going to do is scale that variation down to a very basic for whatever package it is, and then it's going to be a la carte. Okay, that's our standard tune, but it's a suspension. That's going to be another $50. This is what we do extra. I mean, it's just that's how it's going to go, because it's, especially if it's a shop that does a lot of different variety of bikes, from e-bikes and so forth. They're going to be different packages. Instead of having different packages for each bike, they're just going to have a basic, and then a la carte everything else. That's probably the simplest way I would suggest doing, because you can still advertise it that way. But you have disclaimers, of course, like everything. Full suspensions is a $50. Gravel bikes with hydraulics or Di2, another X amount, because you got to do the firmware updates and all that. Anything that's not related, like wrapping bars and so forth. Each shop has to make their own decisions on how it's going to work, but it comes down to what they charge per minute. It's not a shop hourly rate. It's a minute rate. Crazy, huh? It's no longer hourly rates. It's a minute rate. I mean, shop hour rate, they were saying they used to get like $50 or $60 an hour on their shop rates. With a 48-hour turnaround, they were able to capitalize on that and double that. They're making $100 an hour shop rate. That's what they need to do to just keep the employees that they have and sustain, keep in business. And that also reflects the cost of how much they have to charge now. It's doubled. So be lucky that your tune-up is no longer doubled from last year. They're only doing a moderate 10 to 15 to 20% increase, but there's going to be some adjustments per bike. Because like people, we are all different, and bikes are getting more like that, more complex. So complex, so complex. Just nuts. That kind of thing. Oh, Scott, you're grumpy about the e-bikers that are, the throttle e-bikers out there. Yeah, I get it. I mean, lost me. Where am I? Hey, Gimbal. Maybe the sun's coming in. Messing you up. Put you over here. There we go. It's almost like a droid robot. Yeah, but on the flip side though, more often than not, the people I see with e-bikes out there do have a helmet. They're very courteous what they're doing when they're riding, and they're not going more than 15 miles per hour. It's those one or two yahoos, or the kids that have not been, parents bought them a throttle e-bike that basically don't want to have kids anymore, without any, training of the bike or teaching of the road etiquette, bike path etiquette, and not wearing a helmet. That's where, you do have some serious issues. But I mean, there's a lot of e-bikes out there that you wouldn't even know because they're built in and they're just electric assist and they help, that kind of thing. The throttle e-bikes, that's a whole different beast, and they're here to stay. Regardless of how you feel about it and how it hinders your riding in your neck of the woods, they're here to stay. And there's a huge market that for service, for the scooters and all that too, that needs to be fulfilled. And it's going to get fulfilled. I mean, that's where the money is. And there's some shops that have had to convert to a lot of e-bike business to, they wouldn't be able to pay their bills. They wouldn't be able to keep the lights on. So, and there wouldn't be a shop. And even though they do other tune-ups and everything else on me-power bikes instead of e-power bikes, that's just how it is. But, there's always, it just kind of reminds me, there's always something that's going to make somebody grumpy about the cycling industry. Razor scooters were one back in the day. The rollerbladers on the bike paths were another back in the day. There's one guy here, I swear, I'm going to see him creamed up on the side of the road or bike path because he goes about 40 miles per hour without a helmet. And Scott, you've probably seen him. I mean, I see him every time. It's like one of those little cycling caps. That's not going to protect you if you smear. He's going so fast that something jumps out of him fast enough. He's not going to be able to adjust, and he's going to crash. Well, hopefully he doesn't hurt somebody, but most likely he's going to kill himself because here's the thing. When you're on a bike, you are top heavy. Basically, your head is, your body is relying on two wheels that have very minimal contact on the ground. Okay, so when you crash, if you don't reach out, good chances you're going to hit your head. That's one of the 3 contacts that are probably going to hit on the ground because you're top heavy. You're going to flip over, right? And a lot of people in the cycling industry understand that. So if you ride without a helmet, shame on you. You need to wear a helmet. Another one that got me, there's a social media influencer on Instagram. This mom riding on her bike, flashes the camera to her little kid in the back, which has a helmet on with a little trailer, and the dog's running along. It's really cute on some dirt road, and she pans on herself, and she's not wearing a helmet. Well, if you crash and kill yourself, your poor child is going to be sitting there screaming their head off until somebody comes along because you're dead. So, I don't know. There's been several cases of head injuries where, the parents have gone out for a bike ride, and there's so many sad stories that it doesn't even have to be a fast collision. One is like one lady, she fell over, hit her head, went to the ER, and got her checked out. They didn't catch something. This is the 90s. They didn't catch it, and she went home and she bled out. Brain injury, dead. I mean, it's just like a fun event should not have to kill you. So be mindful of that. And yeah, those yahoos, I don't know how we're going to police that. There doesn't seem to be any kind of course of action yet. I mean, they're putting up speed limit things. They're trying to address it. But then again, got that on the highways too with cars. Anyway, but there's going to be those. I just try to ride when there's not a lot of people on the paths, like during the week. It's like try to avoid the weekends. And if I do, go super early or whatever. I don't know. But the industry is definitely changing. Service is going to be a huge portion of that. Even if you do sell bikes, it's going to cut into your bike margin. Well, I mean, it's going to help remedy that bike margin. And here's the thing, is that service department can provide you good, used, well-tuned bikes that are going to help bolster your bike unit sales and accessories. It's a win-win. Who's buying a used bike? Somebody that has been riding a lot, or just getting into it, or can't afford it. Then again, that same customer is the customer that doesn't have a helmet, gloves, cycling apparel, bike racks, all the stuff. Guess who has all that stuff? The customer that has the budget to buy a $5,000 to $10,000 bike. They have already all that stuff. All those add-on accessories are not going to be there for those high-end elite shops unless you're trying to sell some $300 saddle or pair of shoes. Other than that, though, all the other bread and butter stuff is just going to sit on that shelf and collect dust because you're not going to sell it. There alludes to ability of selling a lot of low-end expensive accessories, impulse, because I just had a conversation with my wife this morning about this. Like, it occurred to me, it's like a lot of inventory, like, for example, trainers. Bike shops have stopped carrying trainers because it's a direct-to-consumer product now. And it's also a very labor-intensive to help that customer learn how to use that product that they possibly bought from you for a very minimal margin. I mean, those trainers, we didn't make very much money off of those. And the thing is the trade-off is you're basically giving your labor away to help somebody out to help that. Granted, yeah, it's good money-ish in the off season, but I see that trainer and they click on their phone and find it on Amazon or anywhere else cheaper. Guess what? They're gonna, anything over $100 now, they're gonna check and see if they can find it cheaper or faster, or they don't have to come to the shop and buy that and have it sent to their house. That's the market we're in. So if you're gonna try to rely on those impulse sales of bottle cages, gloves, helmets, shoes, that kind of stuff, you're gonna really need to rely on the beginner cyclists. They're still out there. They're still buying. They're just not going to bike shops. They're just going to Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. And they're buying all their accessories, if they do get into it, off of Amazon. So if you want to combat that and be a part of the solution and not the problem, definitely carry a bike line that has bikes that are decent under $1,000, and also bring in used bikes to mirror the bikes that you have on the floor to have a lead in to better quality, because the bike manufacturers have not yet went back to address that grassroots entry-level line anymore, because they're hoping to just hang through and they can just go back as selling $2,000, $3,000 bikes and not have entry-level bikes. They don't want that because they just don't make enough money off the volume in their mind. But they don't want to invest in the future of their bike brand, which is really just kind of dumb. But I think this whole shift in the market to them is not good. So they're going to be looking at any opportunities or what they need to do for longevity. Because right now they're on the back burner. They're living on credit. They're living on credit and borrowed time, because it doesn't look good for them. Man, these wheels are just dead on true. This is an example of an awesome hand-built wheel set. They stay true longer. Guarantee you. I mean, we hand-built wheels, so many wheel sets in the 90s. And we had was one guy. His name was Steve Strain. He was a bigger guy. He liked nice stuff. He got the top end Trek with Dura-Ace and whatever wheel set it came on there. And he also liked bunny hopping railroad tracks. So you have like a 200 plus guy bunny hopping railroad tracks on your 700 by 23C wheels. He would toast them. So my dad made it a challenge, custom built Dura-Ace hubs, double butted Will Smith spokes with Mavic Open Pro rims, 32 hole, and he tensioned them and prepped them and everything. And I sure tell you, that wheel set held up. We had two guys that did that. There was another guy. What was his name? It was Jeff. Yeah, he was another grinder, bigger, cycling's for everybody. And, some of those bigger, well, I'm in that category now. One of the bigger guys, if we're bunny hopping dainty road wheels, something's going to give. It's going to be a mess. But any case, but yeah, if you're independent, I know there's a lot of shops that do watch this. If you're a small one person band, van or shop person, service is definitely going to be the direction you want to go. Lean into, advertise, promote more. And shoot, just the 3 minute, just once you get it down, I know it's scary, but you do a 3 minute, it doesn't have to be it could be a faceless video, like Ben Cycles that do faceless videos. It's just, you just do something for 3 minutes, talk about something, show something, technical something, and then post it on everywhere, Reels and Shorts and TikTok and all that. I can guarantee you will get a following. And if you're doing your stuff right, you're going to have more business generated than putting an ad in the paper that nobody reads, posts, emails that nobody reads. I got data on no read emails, and I'm a cool person. It's like, oh, they want to. It's like, man, yeah, I say that lately. I'm not that cool, but anyway, it's one of those things that you got to go where they're going. Where are they going? They're on their phones. What are they doing? They're swiping. They don't want to watch long content anymore. They want the 3 minute content and something intrigues them. Oh, that's kind of, I've seen him like 8 times on 8 different videos. He does a video a day just do a video a day for a month and see if you see traffic coming in for whatever reasons and all that. And there's a lot of influencers out there who are doing it. All righty. Kenneth? I'm just calling you 4985. Oh, man. Public shaming. Yeah. You're talking about the e-bikes, yeah. Love my cliffhanger Velocity rims. Oh, yeah, Velocity makes really good rims too, in parts, exclusively, but they're expensive, but they are worth every penny. Got rims for heavy riders like myself. Yeah, I mean, I'm a chubby lad, and sure hell, I'm not going to go with a 2024 spoked wheel set unless I know they're going to be custom built and appropriately for my size and chubbiness. But other than that, I'm going to go with a standard 32 spoke wheel. The weight savings is minuscule. My smiles are going to be so much longer than if I have a spoke brake on me. That smile turns into a pissed off frown. So I'd rather have a 32 happy every time, go for a ride wheel set, because I'm only competing against myself, and I'm doing it for exercise. So nice steel frame, titanium frame, steel is real. Get yourself, a bomb-proof, nice, decent lightweight, but bomb-proof mainly wheel set for your appropriate kilograms weight, and then get a frame that fits you really good. I mean, it's just all about having an experience. That is 9% of the cycling community out there. We don't need all this jazz. You don't. And mechanics, we were getting really, really, really mad at the manufacturers because, I mean, this is not too terrible, but we got a lot of internal stuff going, and they've now unfolded it inside the head tube. And the conversation or the bullet point about internal cable routing, if it's through the headset bearing, like all inside, that is a complete pain in the butt to do when you're doing a cable housing refresh for hydraulic brakes or whatever. This would be slightly tricky because you got to pull the bottom bracket out, that you can fish them out. That's if they have a port on the bottom, that kind of thing. It gets a hot mess pretty quick. It's cool looking, it's fast looking, but you sure don't need it. It's not necessary. It's redonkulous. But in any case, oh, did I? I did not. Did I? No, I cleaned it. but I didn't polish it. So what I do with wheels, I mean, you saw me, I put them in the tank, I wash them. That gets most of the dirt off. Then I take diluted purple power with water, and then that's the second layer of cleaning. And then I chew the wheel, and then this is a polish with a little bit of ceramic properties to it. It's actually a seal and squeal. It's pretty expensive stuff. I don't use a lot of it. And it's like $40 for a 16-ounce bottle, but this will last you forever if you get it. It gives you that barrier protection. I mean, you don't have to use that. You can use something, anything. What it does is prevents parts for aluminum from oxidizing, from dirt to collect, all those things. And when you go to clean your bike, it beads the water up. It's a barrier, so the dirt and all that will shed. So if you take it in the tank like you just saw me, and you rinse it off, all that grime and dirt's going to come off a lot easier. And that's going to just lengthen the life of it. Also, some of those harsh chemicals will make the spokes, the black spokes, tarnish and turn kind of like that copper-looking color. This will revive it because it's really just an oil base on some of those. I think these spokes are painted. These are, what are these? A no name? No, they got to be some name. They're probably, well, it doesn't look like they're DT. Maybe a Will Smith guy on these. But anyway, it just helps and also on top of it, if you have any colors, well, have you ever seen those blacks that turn to copper because of the sun fade? This also has a layer of UV protection too to help with that. It's just, just the extra layer of protection. And it does polish and makes it a little bit nicer. But if you do have a rim brake, that's why I took the rotors off, so I can get the inside. But if you do have a rim brake, you clean off your rim brake surface after you've done all this polishing and stuff. And then you clean it off with rubbing alcohol to get all the cleaning component, any kind of cleaning or polishing materials off of those, that kind of thing. There you go. Then when I have this little extra pad, then I hit like the parts. Same thing. Just helps keep it clean, makes it a little bit shinier, prevents it from, even though it's aluminum, you still have to worry about some oxidation exposure. Raw aluminum exposed, well, it's not corroding, it's oxidizing. It's that white stuff, like weird. So that's why those high-end aluminum frames are either painted, clear-coated painted, or I think GT used to call it ball burnish. They used to treat it. They're really pretty, really shiny, that kind of thing. The frame I'm going to do something completely different with. I have going to polish it with Adam's polish with the pads. And then once that's all cleaned off, then I clean it off with rubbing alcohol to get all the polishing component on there. Then I put ceramic slam, which is a ceramic coating on the actual carbon. So same thing, carbon, you don't want it, like if it's chipped and it's showing exposed carbon, you want to touch that up, fingernail polish or something, just to water barrier it. You just don't want that to get in there. It's not going to do anything really. It's just you just don't want to get it. What it'll do is it'll sometimes affect the paint underneath, and all of a sudden you got some weird paint flakage. Also, keep in mind, a lot of water, sometimes not pure. It'll have like metals in it, and now it'll rust, like irons and stuff. So, yeah, it's all weird stuff, right? It's all sciencey stuff. Woohoo! Well, what are we at? I was going to make it shorter, but since I'm, Shop Talk Tuesdays, I was going to shorter them up because I was not getting anything done. But since I'm getting things done, I went a little bit longer. I'm going to try to shorten them to, especially if I'm doing an interview with like John or anybody, it's going to be an hour. He has better things to do, and I have to get work done. As much as I love jibber-jabbering and talking, I actually have to use my hands to make the income because honestly, the affiliates and advertising space and all that is dropped drastically within the social media realms right now. So you got to go where the money is, which right now for me, as well as a lot of bike shops, is service and used parts and bikes, that kind of thing. Oh boy. So when you clean a Di2 derailleur, basically it's a lot of flossing. You're not going to smudge it. It's going to be a damp rag with a cleaner on there, light degreaser, what have you. And you're just going to floss the living heck out of it because you are not going to submerge that in any kind of solvent, that kind of thing. That frame's about ready to be polished. The wheels are done. I'm about there. I'll have to clean and wax the rear chain and clean the cassette. That won't take too long. So talking about minutes, right? Tune-up packages are no longer about, it's based on minutes. And they're within the POS systems, like Trek uses Ascend, and their service departments are based off of minutes. So how many minutes to do a tune-up? Standard tunes, usually about an hour and a half, all depends how many minutes they do that. Then they have usually 3 different levels. Then you have a la carte things like bar wrap. This could be another additional minutes to that particular project. And then equated of doing, they were estimating 7.5 hours worth of minutes per mechanic per day. That's tough because, I'm sorry, you're working on bikes more than 4 hours, you start burning out, especially if you're doing a volume thing. And on top of that, a lot of those bike shops, they do commissions. That's a question is like, are your mechanics paid by commissions? Because that's going to really drastically affect the quality of service you're going to get. I can guarantee you that. Maybe not all, but I've seen it bad in another way, in other directions, that kind of thing. Really have it in a sense where they could take the time and double check everything, and make sure they do it right the first time, and that kind of thing. So it all depends on the department and how it's ran and all that kind of deal. So it's a lot of variables. And when you look at bike shops, the service department is its own business. And there's some shops that's all they do is service. And right now, those shops are the ones that are expanding. Adding more service bays, adding more storage for bike storage, for repairs. They're the ones that are adding more locations. The ones that are selling a lot of high-end stuff are shrinking their footprint or going out of business. There is like some nasty number, like I think it was like 30% of the bike shops, independent bike shops, are going to be going under this year. It's not good. It's not great. That's a pretty painful number. And only 8% or less were leveraging used. So the remaining 70% of the bike shops, and that does include the corporate stores. So let's say, so for giggles, 60% of that, 50% of that, 55% of that is still independent bike dealers. Independent bike dealers, about 70, I would say very aggressively, 60% and 70% of them are going to have to leverage used at some point, somehow, in their mix in the next 3 years. 3 years of this. This is just, yeah. Put that in your pipe, as my dad would say. Anyway, try not to be a Debbie Downer. But anyway, there is a shining light, which is, service, and some nice stuff out there. And there's a lot of beautiful, awesome used bikes out there that just are waiting to be redone and refurbished and ready to go for the next rider. And they have plenty of life still left in them, so give it to them. You don't need it. We're not going to have the new come in, and definitely not in the price point that most of the economy here is going to be wanting. So, hey, let's provide that plethora of, or that huge vast of inventory that we have in the used market and leverage that. Maybe bring the prices go up a little bit, but you can offset that. And then, if you're done right, you can definitely make a business of it in a sense where you're actually making a profit to a point where you're also paying your sales staff or your staff to do such things. And it's a team effort. And that's the part of that whole 24-hour thing was it's a whole team effort. The salespeople are part of that. They're part of the vetting and all that. I mean, it's a team effort. So you can't have the division, and there lies, I mean, right now, you probably should just buy all bike mechanics and make the bike mechanics go on the sales floor periodically to go sell something, because those people are not coming in the door. And who else is better to show a $5,000 bike, because they're the ones that put it together and played with it and knows the intricacies of how it works and what the maintenance is. Whatever. I lost my track of my thought on that, but it's a mess. It's all a hot mess, and we're all in it together, regardless if we want to be or not. But smaller bike shops, especially in my neck of the woods, I mean, we all love new stuff, but we're just going to have to take a pause on it. And we're going to be leveraging a lot of new used stuff. And there's a lot of different ways to leverage that to a point where you can make your business work pretty well. Oh man, his wheels turned out nice. Oh, that is a little bit off there. Yeah, it's kind of like going back to traditional bike shops. I mean, it's just really weird. It was working in shops in the late 80s and 90s. That seems to be the business model that's actually going to be proven to work in our current state of the state. Because back then, no brand was too big. I mean, there was Schwinn, but we know what happened to them. So all the other brands, Specialized, Trek, they're all baby companies. And now they've been throwing their weight around for so long, now they got thrown back on their back heels, and then what the hell to do? Because there's nobody left working there that knew what the business models were like back in the 90s. So now they have to reevaluate what they're doing and how they're doing it and where they're doing it and who they're doing it with. It's like dating, which thank goodness I don't have to be in that. It's like dating now in a swipe left or right world. Well, it's with bikes. You swipe left or right. Like, I don't want that. Nope, that one's dumb. Oh, I love that. Yeah, we'll see if that one's available. Instead of dating, it's like, can't make an appointment to see it. Oh, thank you so much, man. Oh man, I got old man eyes. Have to look at the old man in the stream. Oh, swimming stream or YouTube stream? Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Oh, nice. Have a good day. Riding down to the post office to drop off a whole bunch of eBay orders. See? I mean, okay. Sell used stuff. You're selling used stuff. You're not stuck with the contracts with any vendors. They get the bird. They can't touch that, even though it's used, same brand that you're selling. So you bought you're a Trek dealer. You bought a Trek 5200, has old Tegra stuff on it. All right, a 5200 is a carbon bike with carbon fork. If it has the postal signature on there, you can get more money off of it. But the framed fork on the carbon, you can probably just sell the framed fork between $300 to $400. You can sell the wheels if they're still in good shape, especially if it's the Rolf wheels. Get $100, maybe 50 off of that. The shifters are definitely gold on those if they're in good condition. Another 100, 150. Cranks, trailers, brakes, you're probably getting another 100 to 150. So what is that? 3, 4, 5, 600. Those bikes are going for right now around 300 or less in my market. So you're definitely doubling your money in parts, and that's not including any other bits that might be special, like a saddle or bars or stems, whatever, Chris King headset, something, whatever. There's also those little gold nugget parts that just, you definitely sell separately. And, looking at SKUs, breaking it down, you never break more than 10 SKUs per bike. So don't think about it as like, oh, instead of selling one thing, now I got to sell like 50 things. Like, no, it's just 10. And here's the beauty of it. Once you list out 10 pieces, most likely, more often than not, within 30 days, you'll sell enough of those pieces to get your money back to go buy another bike. The rest of it is pure profit. Cash flow keeps going. So there you go. And eBay, as much as you hate them or love them or whatever, they have a huge market footprint. They sell globally if you want to do that. And they have comparable pricing, so you can kind of see what's been selling for what pricing. So it makes it a lot easier to assess. So you're not so shooting in the dark. And if you do consistency of the same style of bikes or vintage, like myself, it's mostly road with Ultegra 105 componentry within that range, within the 9-speed and 10-speed, those SKUs are going to have already pre-built templates, so it makes it a lot easier just to list them. So you cut your time down. A huge amount of time deficit is gained from the initial few runs. So once you have that all in the bank, it just makes it faster and faster and faster to list those products and get them out the door. And then you got your shipping process and all that. Once you get there, I guarantee you, your margins are going to be way higher. You're providing a whole bunch of parts for people putting bikes back together and fix them. I just sold a rear derailleur to somebody out in New Hampshire, I think it was. They were looking for a rear derailleur to fix up a repair for them to match the vintage bike they were working on. They took the time and found me and ordered the rear derailleur for $30, right? And they're probably going to turn around and sell it to the guy for $60. That's fine. I mean, whatever. They don't know. They're just happy that you got the vintage part that matches their bike that's going to work with their drivetrain. And the derailleur, even though it's used, $60, that's not bad at all for them to spend the time to find it and whatever. So it works on both ends of every direction of the parts, the frames, the wheels, all those things. And then you don't have the uplift costs of refurbishing a bike, like, it needs new tires, needs a new chain, needs a new cassette, bar tape, and all that. So you're putting more money on top of that to get that bike to go out for one unit, which is going to sit there for 90 to 120 to longer than that. So you're going to have to identify which bikes are going to really look good on your floor that matches the bikes that are already there, and then you can take the rest and part them out. Well, precisionally cleaned, refurbished parts. You got to put a nicer spin on it, right? So that's probably what old man that's just streaming is doing. And there's a couple companies, you can tell who they are on eBay. They have like 10,000 positive reviews. They've been doing it for a while, and it's all bike parts. I mean, there's a couple in Boulder, I'm pretty sure. I bought parts from them to refurbish bikes because I needed a brake set, and I'm like, that kind of thing. So, but the prices have gone down. So as a consumer or somebody that just rides bikes and loves them, this is a great time to buy used. Great time to buy a frame set, build it up or whatever you want with all the parts, everything. You're still going to be a lot cheaper than any brand new. As the performance factor of it, all depends. If you're in the mountain bike realm, it's a little bit different. But if more for road and gravel, I think you can find something that's going to fit you pretty well. And not break the bank and have fun with it. And then you can do multiple bikes for different things. So, that's how that all rolls out and everything. But there we have it. And there's a whole bunch of, you can mix new and used. And actually, I suggest that get yourself a nice frame. Then get the fitting pieces. You can find it used, what have you. But if you feel like you want to use new wheel set, Bicycle Wheel Warehouse has you covered there. Or if you want to go really crazy and go to Sugar Wheels and have them custom build a very expensive set of wheels, you can have that done. And then, the wearables, you probably want new rubber, probably always want new grip tape, always probably want a new chain and try a new one from Vital bike chains because, it'll be pre-waxed, ready to go. All you need to do is do the drip wax specifically for waxing to be good and fine. That makes the performance of the shifting and everything going to be better for you too. And the cables and housing, you probably all want new there. And you can just get the kits and do that. You can do it all yourself because, hey, you got YouTube and they're going to show you we're going to all show you how to put those bikes together. Or you can take it to your local shop and spend like the tune-up price for $100, $200, whatever it is for them, and they'll put it together and have it fine-tuned for you. And there you go. It's a win-win, and there's a lot of opportunities for all perspectives, and you can leverage it. And being a shop, don't worry that's going to discredit your branding, or whatever branding that is that you've developed over the last however long you've been open, because most customers know it's shift. And the thing is, if you do it right, you'll get newer, better customers. We're more community-based, really. If you can community-base your shop, you're going to have more loyal customers that are going to help you out like Scott. He tells everybody about me everywhere he rides, to the point he probably drives them completely nuts. And they finally give and bring in the bike just so they can just stop talking to him about, you need to take him back in. Which, everybody has that friend. And Scott is a great ambassador of what I do. But then again, every shop has, if you do it right, if you do your community right, you'll have a little army of ambassadors are always going to help you cultivate that cycling community, and however it may be shifting in whatever direction, either e-bike to gravel to whatever the next thing is. So there's opportunities there. We're all going to, we work really hard, try to get things to work for everybody else. And cycling is not a place where you make a lot of money. So there's places where you're going to have to carve that out even in the next couple of years. If you want to keep doing this as a bike shop, you're going to have to figure out different ways. And it might be areas that you're not really comfortable with or want to do, but you're going to need to sustain where we're going through right now. And that doesn't matter if it's in the States or anywhere across abroad. There's a lot of shops that are hurting in other sectors, and I wish them well. And the days of being competitive to a point of aggressive are over. We're all in this together. We need to be helping each other out and finding ways to how we can not be the same, accommodate different niches, and go with those directions. There's a lot of talk about stealing people's other bike shops' labor and so forth, because they're still in that aggressive environment in their headset, in their mind space or whatever. They're being competitive regardless. And all that does is drives down the cycling community, not builds it up. So if you have a shop that's very similar to yours, have a conversation with them. Like, hey, okay, we're both here. We're both passionate about cycling. That's a win-win. All right, what direction do you want to take your shop? What direction should I take my shop? What do you not want to do that I can fulfill, and vice versa? And basically work in unison versus competitive and harming each other. Because I've seen two shops duke it out. One went out of business. The other one damn near did too. And what did it do? Did shit for the cycling community. Absolutely crap. Because they hated each other. The owners hated each other. They just raced to the bottom. And they needed to become more cordial. You don't have to like them. You don't have to go out and have coffee or beers or whatever. But if you respect each other's spaces and you actually can leverage each other to help each other out, that you both flourish and you help that community. Because the cycling community in the 90s was so competitive that we all were selling the same damn bike. But now it's not that case at all. We have so many different, cycling expanded so huge, from e-bikes to BMX. There's so many different little niches in there. And depending on the community, you can have a bike shop for each one of them and a service center for each one of them separately. So you could have like 30 different bike shops that all do different things, small, compact, and efficient, and they are supporting their community and actually making a profit for however big and small they are. The end all be all bike shops are very far and few in between, and right now that is not where the market is going to support. So that's where we're kind of at. That is my perspective and my 2 cents of this weird reality we're in. But I love cycling community. I love the bikes that I'm, the customers I have. They're great. They're awesome. They give me cool stuff to work on. We go on the journeys together on these things, and I can't tell you how many times I get texts of pictures of them out riding their bikes after I tuned them up. It's freaking awesome. I mean, that's a warm hug. That's like thanks, man. You made my day by letting me go for a ride on a bike and got it all refreshed, and it's just that big smile on the face. In any case, that's where we're at. Anywho, I need to wrap this up because I didn't want to run an ultrasonic cleaner because it would make it really too noisy in here. So I got to clean that. And also, I'd use the Dremel tool buffers to clean the frame. So that would have been gotten a little loud. So I saved you guys from the earshot from the mic on that. But that's pretty much where I'm at right now. And after that, it's pretty much just putting it back together and making sure it's good to go. This bike was in really good shape to begin with, so I didn't really have to put a lot of elbow grease on that. So a lot of good shops and a lot of good mechanics where they make, some things will be just a little bit easier than usual. Could be compared to their tech level and that kind of thing. Either they're not going to charge you as much, or might discount it, or they may do more work on some other parts of the bike that may need it, and not charge you for it. Like, the bearing on the bottom bracket needs to be looked at that, and they'll pull it apart, but not charge you. They'll note it, of course, and put a value of it so you can see what extra they did. But that's where you get that extra hug as a mechanic, extra attention to detail, even though it wasn't discussed as the initial drop-off, because there's some things that you just don't know until you dig into it. And I'd rather have it fixed and done right, as what my dad would say. Don't do it all if you're not going to do it right. So do it right, and make sure they in with a smile on your face. And you have to tell them we'll charge you twice next time on something. That's fine, because they'll come back. That's the point. They'll come back. They're part of your community. You're part of theirs. Comes around, goes around, right? Yeah. Thanks for chiming in there. 6975. The economy is crazy. My local shop is one of the few good ones around here. That's awesome to hear. Used to be a local mom and pop shop for many years, decades, and in the past maybe 5 years has closed and sell. It's now a truck shop. Okay. I got an old 1995 Schwinn. Is that a Searcher Transit? 100th, oh man, 100th anniversary. Sold there, nice. I remember those were pretty cool. Yeah, so corporate stores can't just poo-poo caca on too many of them, because a lot of those individuals still worked there when it was the shop before, especially on the later acquisitions. On the first acquisitions that Trek did, they just fired everybody and thought they can just bring in anybody, their own crew. That didn't work well because there's not that many people out there they found real quick. So they had some ebbs and woes there. But keep in mind that the Trek and the specialized stores in my neck of the woods, all those staff members have worked at independent bike shops before, most part. And they're still there today, years later, still working for those corporate stores. They still have a sense of pride of what they do as being part of the cycling community. So regardless of what Kool-Aid is being pushed down on them, they're still the barrier buffer. And they do have a little bit of leeway of helping out and so forth. So they do, right. But their hands are sometimes tied on certain things. So they don't have as much flexibility and leeway and all that kind of things. But needless to say, if they still have the same staff, like this one transitioned from a mom pop to a corporate store, basically the employees are getting paid more, have benefits, and chances of promotion. Which back in the early 2000s, when I hit the ceiling, there was nowhere to go. So, sorry, got a tickle in my throat. So that's where we're kind of like, it's good, but weird. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Old Kettering bike shop. South Dayton, Ohio. Oh, suburbs of Ohio. Nice. Yeah, you're not going to see a lot of shops being bought by Trek and Specialized, unless it's very unique situation. Most of them are going to be passed up because the budget on those, because let's just say there was borrowed money to buy all these shops. That pool is small to nothing. Now did their experiment, and now they're shrinking back the ones that are not performing to their expectations. So therefore, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for small shops to come back if they so choose to in those particular markets where the corporate cookie cutter shop is not going to work. And that, but that's a huge deficit. So they've harmed those certain communities by flooding them with the corporate stores and now closing all of them when their leases are up because they just don't see the dollar amount available. Well, now in these uncertainty times, let's just take it back. I'll leave you with this one. I used to work at Big Five Sporting Goods. They were a company that 500 plus stores, and they would invest in locations in a state that would be non-performing stores for decades almost to that market eventually would cultivate. They just got bought out. The new investment company is basically cutting all the stores that are not performing. Even though they're trying to invest into all those markets, that's going to be retracted now. What's going to happen? And my guess is they're going to retract to the point and they'll do okay, but with the economy that's downturning right now, it may not be good enough. They may not be able to sustain a new business model or what have you. Might train wreck the whole company, even though they had 500 locations. Do you think they'd be big and huge and be able to do that? Do I have to give you the laundry list of all the big companies that thought they were too big for the britches and just decided to crash because they were just dumb? Let's start with Blockbuster, Circuit City. What was the ultimate whatever? Hollywood Video. Whole bunch of them, and the list goes on. They're huge, and now they're nothing. So, case in point, these big companies got to watch themselves, especially when they actually do a transition of being sold to by an investment company. As I've had mentioned in conversations with John Bradley, it will kill most brands, most often or not, just us. So there's a lot of heartache in that, especially if it's a brand that you really enjoyed, like GT, for example. They were purchased by Pond Holdings eventually after being bought and sold like 8 times. Gary Turner has not been part of the company since the early 90s, but the brand still had a good following, and they shelved the line because they just didn't see the dollars and cents in it as being part of the Pond Holdings now, which owns 50 other bike companies, by the way, as well as several car companies, as well as big machinery like Caterpillar, all that kind of stuff. In any case, I got to do lunch, got to finish this bike. Thanks for hanging out with me on Shop Talk Tuesday. If I have interviews, they're going to be shorter, but this is basically just a hangout. Let's have a conversation. Thanks for those who joined in the chat. We'll get some shout outs here. Let's see here. 6975 had something more else to say. We had a decent suburb area with bike routes around town, multiple cities. So some decent enough sales, I guess, for Trek to buy and keep open. Other good shops closed, like K&G, have a Giant, etc. Crazy Gate was awesome and Diamondback. Okay. Yeah. In any case, it's all crazy. Yeah, there's going to be That's needless to say, there's going to be a lot of other ones. Oh yeah, GT2. Yeah, yeah. Maybe we'll bring the bike brand back. I don't know. But believe this though, Gary Turner's son, he has GT Nation. He still makes BMX frames out of California. If you want to check them out, it's kind of an interesting little side road to go down, and that kind of thing. Anyway, guys, thank you all for hanging out. Oh, Joe channel. Hey, Joe, thanks for chatting. Hope your little shop is going good and staying warm up there in Canada. And if you missed you this time, I'll catch you on next time. If you're watching on the replay, thank you for hanging out. Keep the conversation going with the comments below. Again, everybody have a wonderful day. If it's nice in your neck of woods, please go for a ride. And I'll leave you with this last sponsor-ish. Ways to make money for a bike mechanic and a YouTube channel. It was brought to you by Medem Bikes, where you can find bicycles that won't break the bank. Great brands like Univega and Vin Diesel, but give you a good quality, safe ride to be able to do those extended rides and get into cycling. You'll find a link below with added savings to extend that adventure starting now. What's going on here? There we go. Again, everybody have a great day. Oh, where's my shop? I'm in Loveland, Colorado. Been doing this shop for 5 years and going strong. It's basically out of my house. I've scaled down. I don't have a brick and mortar store. That just makes it a little tricky, but so my commute is like 2 steps away. And if I need an old man nap, I can take one too and go for a bike ride. Everything's appointment based, so it's really scaled down. I like to call it. I picked all the good parts for the most part. Tried to anyway, and that's where we're at. In any case, live the dream. Keep cranking. If you're wrenching, keep wrenching. There's a lot of insights out there to help your shops be more prosperous in the service realm and used bike realm. Leverage those. Reach out if you have any questions. Hope all you guys have a great week. Thanks for hanging out with me in the garage. And until next time, it's Tuesday. Shop Talk Tuesday. I'm missing one more tab. There it is. Give a lead out. Lead out for the little promos. Yeah, beautiful Pinarello. It's been a nice ride for someone. Super, super, super nice. Ooh. That's if they want disc brakes. Yeah, I guess it's part of the new future. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem, right? Alrighty.